Hey there, YouTubes. Forgive me, I have a cold. I think that this video is long overdue. Why I'm an atheist. So, I was a little kid. Well, okay, I'll start at a different point. For me, atheism wasn't just an aha moment. It was more like walking past a wall and suddenly realizing it wasn't there anymore. Or walking past a building and suddenly realizing it wasn't there, blocking my view of what was on the other side anymore. So, as a kid, there was one day that I had learned in church that God doesn't care what you wear, and that it's what's on the inside that counts. Well, I brought this up to my mother when we were getting ready for church, and I didn't want to wear a particular article of clothing or something, or like wear some kind of pretty dress, and my mom would have nothing of it. And then a couple of years went by and I was helping out with some kind of church event thing, and I ended up having to chase this kid down an alleyway near the church. And I told the child, like, you shouldn't go down there because bad people might be down there. Well, the kid replied to me, well, Jesus said that we were supposed to take care of bad people. And, well, I just kind of shrugged it off. It just kind of made me think, like, well, yeah, he does. And anyway, more time went by. I was confirmed into the church. Technically, I'm a voting member, actually. Could be considered to be. The Presbyterian Church. And then, as a teenager, I realized I was gay, obviously. But, hey, don't get me wrong. My sexual orientation didn't cause me to become an atheist. It was just like another whack to that wall or to that building. It was another crack that would eventually lead to that building or that wall coming down. Because, I mean, being a good kid, not smoking, drinking, having sex, or doing anything that was bad, according to the dominant religion and the culture that I grew up in, and yet you suddenly realize you're this evil thing just because you happen to want to be in a long-term, committed, loving, monogamous relationship with another person who you could shop in the same shoe department with, that kind of makes you think. So, I mean, I had so many struggles with that. I cried when I prayed at night. I cried for the Abrahamic deity to try to take those feelings away, and yet it didn't, obviously. I even went as far as writing a letter to Bishop Gene Robinson of the Anglican Church to try and, like, if in my mind, if he would write back, if he would respond, if somehow that letter would magically make it there, and I would get a response about how I could reconcile being a Christian and with being gay, that would be my sign that Yahweh was the true deity, and that I could be gay and Christian. But obviously he didn't write back. I don't even know if I had the right address. So toward the end of my senior year, I dabbled a little bit in paganism. Just like following my star sign, Libra, air symbol, and learning some about that, and just trying to commune with air, with the air symbol, trying to learn more about air and just an element-based paganism like that. But I don't know, it wasn't so much that I got bored with it, it's just my life got too busy for me to even bother with it. And so, the following summer after I graduated high school, I went down to a magical place. The home of my atheist uncle and my agnostic aunt. And you know, all that weight and all that pressure and all that turmoil that I had while I was up in the corn disappeared. I didn't have any pressure from religion or from stress or from home or any of that. All of it disappeared. I didn't cut once. My eating disorder, well, that's a different story about that. But all the stress that I had just kind of disappeared. Yeah, my eating disorder didn't get bad. My eating disorder got better. Anyway, that's a sidebar. So, and when my aunt and uncle and I would sit down for family dinners, like, the conversation was just so wonderful. And it encouraged my critical thinking skills to grow. And it made me think about and look at and examine my beliefs from a different perspective. And I got to learn about philosophy and so on. And then the same the next summer, I had a very similar experience. I got to learn about philosophy and critical thinking and so on. It was a really nurturing environment, a really good environment for me. And then I went to BG. And I got further along in my psychological studies. I learned more about how the brain worked. I took a abnormal psychology class, and I learned about schizophrenia, and I learned about people hearing voices in their heads, as well as other mental diseases that could result, and that could lead to religious-like things happening. I also got to be friends with a pagan named Bunny. And this pagan friend of mine told me about the history of Christianity and about how the Hebrews were actually Canaanite rejects. They were a group that split off from the Canaanites, which is currently known. The Canaanite region is currently known as Palestine today. And about how these social rejects basically went off and they as a tribe kind of wandered around for a while. I talked to a different pagan friend who actually follows the Egyptian deities, and he told me about the Egyptians' take on those things that happened in Israel with the parting of the Red Seas and whatnot, and so on. And I learned pagan perspective on the Abrahamic story. And then I took a statistics class. And in the statistics class, I learned that those miracles, not so much. And those so impossibly random events, numbers are so small. Well, not really. It's possible for lightning to strike the same place twice. Given those numbers are pretty small, but it's incredibly possible. It's incredibly possible for a couple of chemicals to come together under the right conditions and spring forth life. Especially given enough time, enough chances, and the fact that every time something positive within that happens, a building block gets made. So, like, say you want to flip 4 quarters in a row, or 4 heads in a row. And then, so you get out 4 quarters, and you flip them each. And you get 2 heads. What does this reduce things down to? Your goal was to get 4 heads. So you've already flipped 2 of them. You don't need to flip them again. You slide them off to the side, and then you only have 2 more quarters to flip. You flip another one, and you get heads. So all you have, and so that's your chain. You're building on that. You've already got 3 heads. All this, which would be your positive. The chances of stuff going down, the chances, just study statistics. I failed it once, but yeah, I still learned all this stuff. And I learned about the null hypothesis. The idea that unless we have enough evidence to say that something is different than what we already know, we have to stick with what we already know. And that was kind of yet another crack in that wall. And, you know, all this stuff about creationism and the Bible-thumping bigots, be they in my hometown, be they on the internet, be they on the television, be they on the radio, be they in my own family, they certainly didn't help the case for the Abrahamic religions, let alone for theism in general. And creationists didn't help themselves either when it came to persuading me to stay Christian or persuading me to stay atheist. So, I mean, all these things came together, my sexual orientation, those questions I had about the Bible, contradictions within the Bible itself even, just from random study of it, which I will link below, a video by NonStampCollector, which pretty well spells it out, as far as those contradictions. And just all these other things that kind of happened And it was just kind of one day that I was thinking in my mind, and I realized there really is no evidence for a deity. I guess that makes me an atheist. It's like, I mean, it wasn't a boom moment. It was just like I was kind of walking along that old path in my mind, and I realized that there wasn't a wall, or there wasn't a building there anymore. So, yeah, you know what? My sexual orientation played a part in it. But then again, hanging out with my atheist and agnostic mentors also played a really big role in it. And the Bible itself not really being that good of a book played into it, as well as those extremists that are so vocal in our culture today also played a big role in it. I will admit that there are positive people who follow theism, of multitudes of theisms, be they Abrahamic, be they pagan, be they Hindu, be they any of those others. But you know what? It's not for me. And what is making me more vocal about atheism now is when religion is used as an attack on people, and religion is used as an excuse to harm people or to keep people from their equal rights. The year I graduated from high school, 2004, was the year that Ohio voted to ban same-sex marriage in the state. And why? Not because it also got rid of domestic partnerships in the state of Ohio, domestic partnerships between heterosexuals, but because some religious bigots tagged this onto the end of the bill that ended domestic partnerships, or ended you've been living together for 7 years, so you're considered to be married by the state. No, the only reason that piece of legislation passed was because gay marriage was tagged onto it. So, when you see all this bigoted stuff all around you, and you've already had these cracks and questions in your mind, it really doesn't make a good case for theism. So that's why I'm an atheist. And hopefully I can get over this cold before I make my next video. Peace out.